Once upon a time, in the heart of a lush emerald forest, lived a crow unlike any other. His feathers gleamed a deep, iridescent black, and his eyes sparkled with curiosity, always searching for something more. Though he had everything a crow could wish for, a sturdy nest, the company of his flock, and a sky to soar through, he found himself longing for happiness, a feeling that fluttered just out of reach. Each morning, as the sun spilled golden light across the treetops, the crow would watch the other birds with growing envy. He saw robins singing sweet melodies, sparrows darting playfully among the branches, and parrots with their dazzling plumage laughing together in the canopy. The crow wondered, why do they seem so content? Why do I feel as if happiness is a song I cannot sing? He tried to mimic their ways. He sang like the robins, but his voice croaked and rasped, never carrying the melody quite right. He tried to play like the sparrows, hopping from branch to branch, but his movements felt awkward and out of place. He even stared at his reflection in a puddle, wishing for feathers as colorful as the parrots. Every attempt left him feeling more alone, more convinced that happiness was reserved for others. One afternoon, as he perched on the highest branch of an ancient oak, the crow watched a dove glide gracefully through the air. The dove landed nearby and greeted him with a gentle nod. "You seem troubled, friend," cooed the dove, her voice soft as the wind. "What weighs on your heart?" The crow hesitated, unsure if he should share his feelings. But the dove's kindness warmed him, and the words tumbled out. "I want to be happy," he admitted. "But I don't know how. I see all the other birds full of joy, but when I try to be like them, I only feel emptier." The dove listened carefully, then replied, "Happiness is not something you find by copying others. It is a seed that grows within, nourished by knowing yourself and appreciating what you have. Have you ever tried to see the beauty in your own life?" The crow pondered this. He had always focused on what he lacked, never on what he had. The dove's words lingered in his mind as the day faded into twilight. Days passed, and the crow began to observe the world differently. He noticed how his black feathers shimmered blue in the sunlight, how his voice echoed powerfully through the forest, and how his keen eyes could spot treasures hidden among the leaves. He watched the other birds, not with envy, but with curiosity about what made each unique. One morning, the crow saw a magpie struggling to untangle her foot from a thorny vine. Remembering his strong beak, he swooped down and carefully pried apart the vines, freeing the magpie. She thanked him with a grateful smile, and the crow felt a warmth in his chest, a small spark of happiness. Later, he found a young sparrow who had fallen from her nest. Gently, the crow carried her back to her family, who chirped with relief and gratitude. Each act of kindness, each moment of connection, added to the crow's growing sense of joy. One evening, as the sky blushed pink and orange, the crow perched atop his favorite tree, surveying the world below. He realized he had found happiness not by imitating others, but by embracing who he was and sharing his gifts with the forest. His heart was full, not of envy, but of gratitude. The next day, the crow gathered the birds of the forest and shared his story. He spoke of his longing for happiness, his failed attempts to be someone else, and the wisdom he had found in self-acceptance. The birds listened with rapt attention, nodding and chirping in agreement. A wise old owl spoke up, his voice deep and gentle. "Happiness is a journey, not a destination. Each of us shines in our own way. By honoring our strengths and helping each other, we create a forest filled with joy." From that day forward, the crow stopped comparing himself to others. He reveled in his own abilities, taking pride in his sharp mind and powerful wings. He sang his own song, a melody unique to him, and found that the forest echoed with appreciation. The crow discovered that happiness was not something to chase, but something to cultivate through self-love and kindness. His days became brighter, his friendships deeper, and his heart lighter. And so, the crow who wanted to be happy learned that true joy comes from within. By accepting himself and sharing his gifts, he filled his life with the happiness he had always sought. The forest, in turn, became a place of harmony, where every bird, no matter how different, found their own song to sing. As the seasons changed and the forest bloomed with life, the crow's story spread far and wide. Young birds listened and learned. understanding that happiness could be found by looking within and embracing what made them unique. The crow often soared high above the trees, feeling the wind beneath his wings and the sun on his feathers. He no longer wished to be anyone else. He had found his happiness, and in doing so, inspired others to do the same. In the heart of the forest, the crow's song became a gentle reminder to all. Happiness is not about being like someone else, but about finding the beauty in who you already are. As the years passed, the crow grew wise and content. He watched generations of birds come and go, each facing their own journey toward happiness. He offered guidance, sharing his story with those who struggled, and always reminding them of the simple truth he had learned. Happiness begins with self-acceptance and grows through kindness. The forest thrived, filled with birds of every color and song, each celebrating their own gifts. The crow's legacy endured, not as the bird who wanted to be happy, but as the crow who learned how. In the quiet moments, when the stars twinkled overhead and the moon bathed the forest in silver light, the crow would reflect on his journey. He realized that happiness was never something to be found outside himself, but a light that shone from within, guiding him through every season of life. And so the crow lived out his days in peaceful contentment, his heart forever filled with the happiness he had once sought. His story remained a timeless lesson for all who wish to find joy. Be yourself, embrace your gifts, and share them with the world. For in the end, happiness is not a destination, but the way you travel through life. One kind act, one grateful thought, and one unique song at a time. As the forest drifted into slumber each night, the crow's gentle song lingered on the breeze, a lullaby of self-love and hope for every creature under the stars. And in that melody, happiness thrived, touching every heart and reminding all that the journey to joy begins with embracing who you truly are. From that moment forward, the crow never again wished to be anyone but himself. He celebrated each day, knowing that happiness was his to create and share. The forest echoed with his joy, and every bird, inspired by his story, sang their own song with pride. And so, the crow who wanted to be happy found that happiness was not something to seek, but something to be. His heart, his life, and his story became a beacon of joy for all, illuminating the path to true happiness for generations to come.